Hey everybody, in this video we're going to look at the intermittent IV medication infusion via volume control set using a volume control chamber. There's several steps to these, so pay attention. The order is for the chloroform 250 milligrams, and my pen doesn't want to work, 250 milligrams IV in 50 milliliters to infuse in 30 minutes, followed by 15 milliliter flush. And because the child has a saline lock. So my chloroform has, if I look, it's in the instructions, in the, I can't think of what the words are called, package insert. They're going to add 10 milliliters diluting for a total volume of 11 milliliters with a concentration, and this is what we want, or what we're going to use a little bit, the concentration of 180 milligrams per milliliter. But the first thing we want to do is we want to calculate the total volume that we're going to have for the intermittent IV medication. This is the intermittent IV medication and the IV flush. So we have 50 milliliters for the IV medication, and then we have 15 milliliters for the IV flush, which gives us a total of 65 milliliters. We use this amount to calculate our drop factor because all the fluid has to go through, and it has to go through in a 30-minute period. So the second, we're going to calculate the flow rate. Okay. So in the drop factor, remember the drop factor on these are 60 drops per milliliter. So I'm going to start with my total IV volume, the 65 milliliters, over my total time, which is the 30 minutes. And we're going to multiply it times our drop factor, which is 60 drops per milliliter. Since we're already in minutes, I don't have to worry about that. My milliliters are going to cancel. I know 30 goes into 30 once, 30 goes into 60 twice. So I get 65 times 2, and I get 130 drops per minute. So, and then calculate the volume of medication to be administered. Right, this is where, how much am I going to give? How much am I going to give the patient? The volume, it's how much I'm going to put in the IV or the volume control chamber, but you also find it the way you're going to find how much you're going to give your patient. You're looking for milliliters. You go with your doctor's orders. It's the same way. I'm not going to write this out. So my doctor's orders, if you'll remember from the top, was 250 milligrams. And then my concentration is 180 milligrams per milliliter. So I have 250 milligrams over 1 times my supply form, which is 1 milliliter, over my concentration, which is 180 milligrams. My milligrams cancel, my zeros cancel, and I got 25 divided by 18, which gives me 1.38 repeating. Since it's greater than 1, we round to 1 decimal place, which makes that 1.4 milliliters. So I'm going to administer. I'm going to put 1.4 milliliters into that volume control chamber. So this is a weird question to ask, but it was one the book asked. It says, set the flow rate at 50 milliliter. Set the flow rate of the 50 milliliter intermittent IV medication for, and that's what we found our flow rate up here, 130 drops per minute. And follow with the 15 milliliter flush set at the same rate, 130 drops per minute. We'll come back and we'll learn the next couple of examples. We'll know how to, or what we're going to do with this 1.4 milliliters. Okay, so number 8 is another example of the same thing. They've got an order for an IV solution at 30 milliliters per hour, continuous infusion, The gentamicin is 30 milligrams every 8 hours over 30 minutes. So my supply is 80 milligrams per 2 milliliters, or I'm going to go with the 40 milligrams per milliliter. These are equivalent measures, so I can use either one. So, and it says an electronic infusion pump is used in use with this volume control set. So I'm going to be in milliliters per hour and not in drops per minute. Now it says calculate the dilution volume. That's how much I'm going to put in my volume control chamber, VCC. Volume control chamber is my VCC. So the dilution that I'm going to require to administer the gentamicin at the prescribed continuous flow rate. So we're going to take our 30 milliliters per hour, and we're going to multiply it by our 30 minutes. All right, normally I'd have you do the hour over 60, but I'm going to show you a shortcut that I showed in class. I can get my pen to work. I know that 1 hour is the same as 60 minutes. So instead of having 1 hour here, I'm going to use 60 minutes. So now I know that my pens don't work. So I know 30 will go into 60 2 times. And my minutes cancel. So now I have 30 over the 2, which gives me 15 milliliters. So I'm going to add, this is my total IV solution. I can make that readable. In the volume control chamber. Okay, so now I want to know, calculate the volume of gentamicin to add to the volume control chamber. So how much medicine am I going to add? So again, it's just the same as how much will you give, except we're giving it in the volume control chamber. So again, I'm looking for milliliters. I'm going to go up here and look at my order. My order was for 30 milligrams. And my supply is of 40 milligrams per milliliter. So 30 milligrams over 1 times 1 milliliter per 40 milligrams. So my milligrams cancel. I got zeros that will cancel. So I have 3/4 of a milliliter, which is 0.75 milliliters. Okay, one thing to remember, this 15 milliliters is the total IV solution. That's including the medicine. Okay. Let's look at number 9. Sorry, I feel like I have a frog in my throat this morning. We have Cleocin, I don't know if I'm saying half of these right, 150 milligrams in 32 milliliters over 60 minutes of an infusion pump with 28 milliliters of a flush. And then my Cleocin has the supply, a concentration of 150 milligrams per milliliter. So first thing I want to do is I want to calculate the total volume in the IV. So I'm going to take my rate, no I'm not, sorry, wrong problem. So I'm going to take the 32 milliliters and the 28 milliliters. So I'm taking my IV fluid that's my Cleos, that's in, the 32 milliliters plus my 28 milliliters. And that gives me a volume of 60 milliliters. Now I need to calculate my flow rate. So again, remember your flow rate is your total milliliters, which is now 60 milliliters. So my flow rate is 60 milliliters over my total time, which my total time was 60 minutes. And since this is an infusion pump, then I need it in drops per hour, or milliliters per hour. So again, because I could take, a while ago when I took the 1 hour and made it 60 minutes, I can change my 60 minutes to 1 hour. And then I'm going to have 60 milliliters per hour as my rate. So this last part, it says add how many milliliters of medication and how many milliliters of IV fluid to the chamber. This is where it gets a little tricky. The amount I'm going to add is the amount that I would give, okay? The milliliters that you would give to your patient. So I'm going to be looking for milliliters. I'm going to use my doctor's orders, which is 150 milligrams, and my concentration of 150 milligrams per milliliter. So 150 milligrams for my order times my 1 milliliter, my 150 milligrams. Milligrams cancel, and if I got 150 on top, 150 on bottom, it divides to be 1 milliliter. So I'm giving 1 milliliter of medication. Now, if I want to know how much IV fluid I'm going to add, think about, we're adding it to a chamber, and I'm not the best artist. So this is my chamber. I don't know how the top looks, but anyway. So I'm adding 1 milliliter of medication, and we're going to say it's going to be roughly that much. Okay, so that's my 1 milliliter of medication. Now, the maximum we can have, or the maximum amount of fluid that medication is in, is our 32 milliliters. Okay, so he's got 150 milligrams of the medication in 32 milliliters, so it's going to be 32 milliliters total. So this whole thing, we're going to say up to here, all this I'm not a very good, I can't color very good either here, but you get my idea. So all this green is my IV solution that I need to make this 32 milliliters total. Okay, so I need 32 total milliliters. I'm going to subtract, my color coordination going here, 1 milliliter of medication, and then that's going to equal for some reason it doesn't want to pick up my color. 32 minus 1 is 31 milliliters of IV solution. So I'm going to add 1 milliliter of medication, 31 milliliters of IV medication. Now, the total volume after 3 doses. Well, after you run the 32 milliliters through, you've got to run this 28 milliliters through. So they're going to get 60 milliliters each dose. Because you run this 32 milliliters through that's got the medication in it, then the 28 milliliters, so total 60 milliliters per dose. Then after 3 doses, so 3 times 60 gives me 180 milliliters that will have gone through. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video and come back with more examples.